It's time now for some real education. We've been talking this week about honoring Hanukkah, the beautiful Christian celebration for our Jewish friends that is just commenced, underway, and over now. The sacrifice, so what we're looking at is Rembrandt's painting. Rembrandt lived in the Jewish quarter for a long time. He had many Jewish friends. He was very sympathetic, very emotionally connected to the Old Testament. And so we took a look at one of Rembrandt's paintings about the Old Testament yesterday. Let's get another one here. This is the sacrifice of Isaac from the book of Genesis, one of the most compelling stories, I think, in all the Bible. God ordered Abraham to sacrifice his only son Isaac as a test of his faith. This is Genesis 22, verses 1 through 13, at least in your Christian Bibles, that's how you would find it. Abraham set out to carry out the command, proving his belief. But God sent an angel to stay his hand just as he was about to sink the knife into his son's body. Rembrandt captures all the drama and all the culminating moment in this terrible intended sacrifice. Abraham's amazement as the angel stops him with hand raised is revealed in his expressive gesture and the strong look on his face, which almost borders on madness, kind of ecstasy. We see a moment of great emotional tension. It's expressed in dynamic forms and lines, the heightened drama, the monumental forms, the turbulent movement, the sharp contrast of light and shade. These are all typical of Rembrandt's works from the 1630, very Caravaggisti, in the manner of Caravaggio. This painting could have been done by Caravaggio, and it reflects the Baroque style. Now, look at the picture again. I think this is one of the most misunderstood stories in all the Bible. It's how could God be cruel? How could God, you remember the story of Abraham and Sarah? They had no child. They were grown very old in years when God picks Abraham to be the founder of his people, this new covenant between God and man. He picked Abraham. And one of the things he did is he gave Abraham and Sarah a child at that extreme age to demonstrate his love for them and his ability to do anything he says he can do. Now, of course, Abraham and Sarah made a mistake. They waited. They thought God was going to give them the child right away, but they didn't. It didn't happen right away. It took years and years. They got impatient. They had a child. Abraham was sent in by Sarah to the maid, and had sex with the maid, and gave birth to Ishmael. Not what God had intended. God eventually would bless Ishmael, but that doesn't mean that Abraham and Sarah didn't put their foot in it. So is this a situation where God is basically for no good reason, telling Abraham, go ahead and kill your child just for spite and giggles? No. I think in reading Genesis, this is God's punishment for doubting him to begin with. It's a lesson to Abraham. He was never going to let Abraham kill that child. But the lesson God seems to be teaching Abraham, whose child is it, mine or yours? Who miraculously gave you that child when you could not make one yourself? I did, and yet you wouldn't believe me. Yet you betrayed your faith in me, and it gave rise to you sleeping with another woman and having a bastard child. This is a reminder by God, it seems to me, unless you remember always, Abraham, whose child it is, right? Then you will keep that covenant close to you in mind. It doesn't strike me as evil at all, but as compelling.